Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your Director of Fun and Games for the evening. Joining me today, we have in studio Broad Street Hockey's own Kelly Hinkle, and all the way out in Calgary, celebrating Canadian Thanksgiving, is Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor. Where are you eating your Canadian goose tonight, Charlie? I assume that's what they do. It's like turkey, but in Canada?
I don't know when I'm going to have the opportunity to have a Canadian Thanksgiving dinner. I just got done covering practice. Now I'm doing the show. And I am in the second floor of my hotel in an empty bistro, because the bistro is closed because it is Canadian Thanksgiving. So even if I wanted to order something at this Canadian bistro, I could not.
Do you know what they do for Thanksgiving there, Kelly, being basically one of them?
I do.
An adopted daughter of Canada?
Some people do like turkey.
Okay.
Like, same as us. Some people just do like a big fancy dinner. So like at Micah's house once we did like a crown roast beef situation and like all kinds of different stuff. And usually they don't do it today. Usually they do it on one of the weekend days because they don't have off tomorrow. So it's like, yeah. So I think today is officially Thanksgiving, but I think
there are no huge sales there tomorrow. Like Canadians don't get up early and fight each other at the Tim Hortons.
No, but they get Boxing Day. We don't get Boxing Day.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so Charlie is out there on this road trip. The Flyers practiced in Calgary today. They're leaving for Edmonton later, I guess, or tomorrow.
No, they left at 1:30 Calgary time, which was a half an hour ago.
Okay, and then you'll be there. Okay. Whatever the case might be, you were at practice today, Charlie. We have a couple of notes I want to get to, and then I'll ask if there's anything else. But first of all, a maintenance day for Joel Farabee. He wasn't out there?
Yeah, John Tortorella said he was a little banged up, quote. I asked, does that mean that he should be good to go for tomorrow's game against the Oilers? And Tortorella was non-committal. I will say that Farabee watched practice. He was in his orange hoodie. He was watching the players skate. Looked okay. Not like he was wearing a brace or anything. So he's clearly a little banged up. Doesn't seem like it's anything super serious. That said, he's been playing pretty well to start the year. And if he has to miss a game against the Oilers, I know the Oilers are off to a slow start. They've lost their first 3, but they're still the Oilers. And it would hurt if Joel Farabee can't play in that game.
Well, that's you would almost like them to be 3-0. Like,
it would be nice if they had turned it around last game.
They're gonna turn it around eventually. We learned that last year. Now listen, it took them a while. They eventually had to fire their coach.
Yeah.
Maybe they just have to do that every single year. Like, come in, lose for the first month, fire their coach, and then go all the way to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. But we'll see about Farabee tomorrow. But along with Farabee missing practice, we had some new lines out there today. Chuck, what can you tell us about the combinations that we see?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go into too much detail because if you want that information, watch my post-practice notes video, which will be out in a few hours. I don't want to give away everything. Got to watch that video.
Oh, Charles.
But I will say that the big news, I think, coming out of practice in terms of the line combos was Matvei Michkov returning to the right wing, which has been his natural position basically his entire career.
Yeah.
They started him out the season on the left wing. They had him on the left side, Travis Konechny on the right side. They changed up the centers a bit each game, but the one constant was Konechny on the right and Michkov on the left. John Tortorella today after practice basically said, yeah, we tried it, and we may try it again later in the year, but it doesn't seem like Michkov is comfortable yet on the left side, so we're moving him back to the right. So it does appear that he is going to return to the right side on that line that they used so much in preseason, that Tippett on the left, Frost in the middle, and then Michkov on the right line.
Yeah, I thought that was always the most logical. Maybe, I don't know if it should be Tippett, if it should be Forster, whatever it is. But I honestly thought when they put Mish over on the left wing that it would kind of be like, okay, and now we're all battling to get over to the right side of the ice. And I honestly didn't see it all that much, I thought, in the first game. But I thought as he got a little more comfortable, like, and wanted more touches in the as in the second game, and really as even the first game went on, suddenly it was, oh, all three guys are on this side of, like, you know, the
right.
like, and I don't know, it's they didn't want to put too much responsibility, like, off puck. John Tortorella said, like, I'm going to let him do his thing on offense, and then the other stuff we'll get to when we get to. It always seemed a little counterintuitive. Like, I know he's a hockey player. We put too much stock into this stuff sometimes, but he's a right winger. Let's play him on the right side.
That's the thing. Like, he's our best player by a wide margin. It seems very silly not to do every single thing that we can to maximize his effectiveness, and that includes playing him where he's played his entire life.
And
are you waiting for me to say something?
I just wasn't sure where I was going next and thought maybe Charlie would say something before I have to come up with a question. No, we're going to get a little bit more into Michkov in maybe just a second. But, Chuck, did you have anything else from practice that nothing you can, I don't want you to give away your whole practice notes video, but anything else from practice before we get into Michkov?
Well, it looks like Ryan Paley might be a scratch, so there's that.
That's interesting, eh?
Yeah.
Because he's Torts' baby. Torts loves him.
Torts does like him a lot. He was a guy who last year, he got scratched in the beginning of last season, and then once he really fell in love with Paling's game, then Paling became a guy who was essentially Teflon. Kelly, I think what's going on here is that John Tortorella has a new super fast toy down the middle, and his name is Jett Luchanko, and that's what's going on. It's like the scene in what is it, the first Toy Story when Andy's just like, I don't want to play with you anymore, just throws Woody behind the bed.
Poor Ryan Paling.
A little bit of that feeling right now.
No, it is it does kind of feel like that a little, because after what was it, the second game, we talked all right, so there's this group of middle six, bottom six centers. You got to believe Luchanko, at least for the 9-game tryout, he'll be back in. They didn't want to play him in the back-to-back, whatever. We'll talk about that later. But when he comes back in, all right, Lawton, Cates, Paling. Well, we know he loves Paling, but after the first 2 games, it's, who hasn't been good?
Ryan Paling.
Him.
Yeah, not good.
And if you think Jett Luchanko is basically that already, with much higher upside, hopefully, but, basically that already, do we need 2?
Sure don't.
And if he's not playing well, it makes the decision pretty easy. But we'll see how that all goes. If Farabee draws back in, if D'Lo draws in eventually. But that's it. I want to do a little bit more on Mish now. I can't remember when I said this. If it was post game or we've done a lot of stuff over the last couple of days. I want to know if you noticed this as well, Charlie. One thing I've seen, I think, as Mish has, almost made some plays here and there, is that his teammates might not be fully ready for what's coming sometimes. I noticed in Saturday night's game at one point, I believe the third period, he's along the boards by the offensive blue line on the right side. And as the puck arrives to him, it looks very much, the defender converging. He's just going to tap this into the zone, dump it, wrap it around, whatever, and we'll just start over. But he makes a quick short pass to either Tippett or Forster, who got a little handcuffed by it because they kind of thought what I thought. This thing's getting dumped in, and that's not what's going to happen. There's no conservative to his game. His game is, I'm going to try to make a play. And maybe they just haven't had that a lot. Have you kind of noticed that as well?
I definitely have. What I will say is that I'm not ready to say that this is an example of all these players just don't know how to deal with Michkov. I've seen it with a lot of players. Not just take Michkov off the ice entirely. I've seen a lot of moments in these games where one guy will send a pass and another guy just won't be quite ready for it. I think this may be less about oh man, none of these players are good enough to be on the same team with Michkov. I think it may just be more that this team just looks a little bit out of sync. Whether Michkov's on the ice or not, whether he's the one making the pass or not, I've seen a lot of plays that have been just a tick off, whether it's from, Brink to Couturier, or whether it's from, Paling to Hathaway, or whether it's from Michkov to Konechny. It just seems like everyone is a tick off, and it probably is more noticeable with Michkov for 2 reasons. Number one, because the plays he makes tend to be of a higher quality. So the plays that he's making tend to be very memorable because he's setting up scoring chances. And then second, because we're all just watching Michkov incredibly closely in a way that we're not watching Noah Cates and Ryan Paling and Garnet Hathaway.
Yeah, we had that conversation on post game after Saturday's game, because we were saying Michkov could probably have 5 points already if some of the opportunities that he set up for other guys got finished. And I think that we're noticing them more, like Charlie said, because a lot of them are leading to what look like should be easy goals for whoever he's passing to, and then they just don't. And so it's like, we're watching Michkov constantly because obviously, and then also what he's doing seems to be more directly leading to quality scoring chances than what other guys are doing.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Like Charlie said, the passing, I haven't seen outside of Konechny's power play goal, the one Mish set up for his first point. Like, I don't know if I've seen them string together 2 or 3 passes in a row yet.
No.
They're definitely off. But what I've seen with Michkov a couple of times, I think, is like the type of play he's making. I'm not saying, all these guys can't play with him. They're not on the same level. Maybe some guys aren't. But it's just like they play one way, and then he's here doing something else entirely. And it's just going to take a second for everyone. Like, and we're juggling the lines again. Like,
right.
We're going to have to wait for maybe some of this chemistry, know where each other is, know what each other's going to do. It's 2 games in.
Yeah.
Like we've seen, I calculated it today because it's an easy calculation, so I did it.
I love that for you.
2.44% of the season is gone. So we still have almost, 97% of the season left. Yeah. But I'm just like, and we are like hyper focused on 39 because I mean, I want him to rack up all these points because I bet him to win the Calder. So like, this is going to be a statistics race. Cutter didn't score last night. Watched that game. Very happy about it. But yeah, so I think it's both things kind of going on with this team right now. But I think overall, the skill plays are just not sharp right now. Like this team, maybe a little too much towards torture, and perhaps not enough pucks. Not enough pucks at training camp.
So I would agree that it's not fair to say that like none of the Flyers are good enough to keep up with Michkov and what he does on the ice. But I do think it's fair to say that like none of them are used to playing with a guy that thinks the game the way that he does and does it so quickly. So it's going to take them a little while to get used to the fact that he's going to do stuff that no one else on this team has done before. Like even Claude Giroux, who is very good. And it's not really about skill, I think, so much as just like getting used to the idea that we now have a guy that does this, and we never had a guy like that before.
Yeah, I think the difference, because there is a difference stylistically between Giroux and Michkov, even though the comparison is going to be there because obviously Giroux was the previous superstar, Michkov is the heir apparent superstar. We'll see how that plays out. But I think the biggest stylistic difference in terms of playmaking ability is Giroux's playmaking ability was unique in the sense that, and this was like when he was absolutely at his best, you knew exactly what he was going to do, and he still did it. Yeah. Like, you knew he was going to get that pass right through the slot on the power play. Everybody knew he was going to do it, and it didn't matter. He would just get it through. It wasn't like there was anything unexpected. He was just incredibly good at the execution. Whereas with Michkov, a lot of times, he'll create plays that you didn't even think were possible. Like, it's a little bit more creative rather than Giroux was a bit more, like, incredible execution and vision and accuracy of passes and things like that. Whereas with Michkov, it's a little bit more like you always have to be on your toes when he's on the ice with you because you never know when he's going to see something, and you got to be ready for the possibility that, like, hey, he might envision a scoring chance, and I just have to always be ready for the possibility that I might get the puck when I'm not expecting it because he sees something I don't.
But it does kind of feel like, and listen, there's, like we said this about Luchanko. Like, we could also have said the same thing about Luchanko in the first game. Like, oh, he could have had a bunch of points too. He had a couple of plays, but it's nobody cashes in every opportunity.
Right.
Matvei is making so many. It does kind of feel like the floodgates are going to open soon.
I think so.
Like, I know he only has the 1 assist, and again, it's only 2 games, but they've also missed 2 wide open nets.
Yes.
Like jam plays where
wide
it's
open.
like you're standing there with the puck and all you have to do is put it in, and they just don't. And like the Luchanko one where he got robbed and Matvei missed an open net. Like it's going to happen. It's very exciting watching him, but it's also like, come on. We're almost there. I want to see all of it now, but he's still 19.
2 games.
We got a little bit of time. And while I bring up Jett Luchanko, Did not play in the Saturday game. I get it. And especially, okay, let's extend. It's one back-to-back, second game of the season, cross time zone travel, all that stuff. Extend his 9 games to 10 or whatever it might be. That's fine. Cool. It is still weird, though, right?
I don't really think it's weird. No, I don't think it's weird at all. I think that the idea of what they're doing here is trying to teach him how to be an NHL hockey player, right? And he can learn a lot, I think, watching from the press box the rest of the team play an NHL game and also experience all the things that come along with a road trip. So, like, I mean, I didn't expect them to take him out, I guess. But when it happened, I was like, oh, yeah, I can see that. Like,
Yeah, I thought it was interesting today at practice that, like, I don't know how many more hints Tortorella needs to drop to have everyone realize that, like, he is the driving force behind why Luchanko is still here. Like, he is the guy. And I'm not saying that, like, Danny and Jonesy are getting dragged into this, but, like, if Torts had his way, Luchanko would be on this team all year. He would be probably in his top 6 all year because he friggin' loves the kid. And what he said after practice today was, because we asked him about the power play, about, how's the power play look so far? It's been 2 games, whatever. He was like, it's been good. I really thought the second unit missed Luchanko on Saturday. Like, he brings that up unprompted. And, like, did it? Maybe a little, but to me, that struck me as, like, I really didn't want to scratch this kid. I want him in the lineup every single night. And I don't know. I kind of have a gut feel that the sitting of Luchanko on Saturday might have been a little bit more of Danny being like, let's not overwhelm this kid. Because Tort said, had a conversation with the coaches, had a conversation with Danny. We came to the conclusion that we didn't want to play in the back-to-back. I just have a hunch that might have been more of like, all right, Torts, like, we gave you the kid, but we're playing Calgary. They're a big physical team. They play mean. It's second game of back-to-back. He just turned 18. We need to get guys like Cates in. We don't want them to be sitting forever. Let's sit him for this game. And Torts just like, okay, I guess. and then today after practice, he's like, man, I wish I had him in that game.
No, I will say, like, wanting to get Cates and like, guys can't sit forever. And, like, Noah Cates isn't a dude that he's a useful NHL player. It's not like you're, 2 weeks without Noah Cates. Who cares? We'll just throw him in whenever. Like, no, he's not Eric Johnson. He's not there to take up space. Like, maybe he's not a part of the future, but he could be. And he's a pretty good player. It's not like he's setting the world on fire, but he's a good player. You want to get him in. So I think that's like the best excuse for it. But I do see both sides. Like, my initial reaction was, like, really? Is it the whole point to kind of just put him through situations he wouldn't be in otherwise and see how he handles it? Like, isn't that why he's here? And then I'm like, no, he's here because Torts thinks he can help him win games. This isn't development at all. He just likes him a lot.
I think Danny and the rest of the front office has, like, convinced themselves that they can use this to help his development. But I do think with Torts, Torts' view is, I mean, look at the lines that he ran today. Today it was, Luchanko was functionally the second-line center. Couturier was functionally the 3C. Now, again, it comes down to usage. Maybe Couturier will get more minutes in the game than Luchanko does, depending upon how the shifts go and matchups and whatnot. But it's abundantly clear that Torts loves this kid. And that this is, more than anything, this is the coaching staff being like, I want this kid for as long as we can have him.
Just, like, looking at the schedule here, so by, like, the end of the month, will Torts have made Luchanko his 1C, if for no other reason than to be like, you're sending back my 1C? No, we're keeping it. Like, I think that is a real possibility that this dude is centering, like, Meach and Forster by Halloween.
I just think so. Charlie, do you have any thoughts on, like, because I feel like a lot of us, meaning you journalists, us fans, watching Luchanko think like, okay, he can hang. He looks pretty good. He doesn't look actively bad, but he's not lighting the world on fire in a way that suggests that, like, there's no other choice but to keep him in the NHL. What do you think John Tortorella's obsession is with this kid? Is it just, like, work ethic, attitude, like the fact that he is large for a teenager? Like, what is it that he is seeing, you think?
I think it's kind of all of the above. I said this on the show last week, I believe, before I left for the trip. I do think a lot of it is speed. He really, really loves that speed down the middle. He thinks that ideally NHL centers in today's game are fast. Luchanko is not just fast; he's incredibly fast. I think I talked to Eric Johnson after Luchanko made the team, and Eric Johnson said, he might be one of the fastest players in the NHL right now at age 18. He is extremely quick. He is a great skater. So I think that's number one. Number two, I think he loves the work ethic and the attitude. I think that's part of it. I think he really caught Tortorella's eye starting day one when he killed the skate test. I think that was a huge part of it. And
yeah.
I still haven't watched the third episode of The Standard, but I got the sense that, again, Tortorella was just like, yeah, you got to be on the team. Like, you're just 100% like, yeah, I need this guy. And I really think that does go back to the skate test. Number three, I think he loves the little details. I think, it's funny. I think there are some similarities, and obviously it's an easy comparison to make because this guy also made the team at age 18, but there's just a humor to it because it's clear that John Tortorella doesn't seem to really like this guy that much. I think there are some similarities between the way Tortorella sees Luchanko and the way the Flyers coaching staff back in 2011 saw Couturier, where it was like he does so many of the little things. He does all these things that we want all of our players to do. He'll figure out the offense eventually, right? He's got to. Like, it's going to happen because he's so good at everything else. And I really do think that is Tortorella's viewpoint, is that, well, look at all the little things he does. And he's fast down the middle. Our centers aren't that good. Maybe the offense isn't all there yet, but he'll figure it out because he's just that awesome. I think that was their view of Couturier back in 2011. And I think that kind of is Tortorella's view of Luchanko today.
I just picture John Tortorella, like, in these meetings being like Mickey in Rocky 2. It's like, so we need speed, greasy, fast, lightning speed. Like, that's what I picture. You know what I do think, however, Torts loves, whether it's the speed, the work ethic, the shape he's in, it's that Jett Luchanko, he's not ordinary. And you know who else is never ordinary?
Oh my God, that was beautiful.
It was fine.
I didn't see that coming at all.
You know who else is never ordinary? It's our presenting sponsors at Bet365, because whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. They have over 90 million users worldwide and live stream over 780,000 events each year with early payouts across the NBA, NFL, NHL, and Major League Baseball. They've been one of the pioneers in live in-game betting. Thank you for that live total under yesterday, Bet365 in that Eagles game. If we have to watch that slop, why not bet on it? And right now at Bet365, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use the code PHLY365 to sign up, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $200 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. You know I'm loving this early payout option because, listen, Flyers on the West Coast right now, whatever it might be, make a bet, team goes up by 3, you're an automatic winner. You can go to bed. It's that simple at Bet365. So download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. And while we're here, listen, you have this gambling, you're having a good time. On the other side, you got to make smart financial decisions. Right. The smartest financial decision you can make, it's switching from the big bank to TrueMark Credit Union. And right now, our friends at TrueMark, they want you to know about their October 21st golf outing at the Talamore Country Club in Ambler, PA. TrueMark Financial Care Foundation is hosting a charity golf outing event to raise money for financial education and community development in the Philadelphia and surrounding areas. I've told you so much about how one of the big things about a credit union like TrueMark Financial is that they're a part of the community. And here it is right here. They're raising money for financial education in the community. Who couldn't use that? So visit TrueMark.com/events to sign up and find out all the details about this amazing golf outing that's happening October 21st at the Talamore Country Club in Ambler. All right, back to the show.
So I just want to, could I say something real quick?
Right ahead.
Okay. So we've been talking about Jett and like how he's not really lighting the world on fire, etc. Courtesy of Kurt R., friend of the pod, I learned today that Jett and Matvei lead the team in average on ice shot quality. So
Not
even though
shocking.
even though they're like not putting it in, like it's there.
Listen.
So that's good.
In fairness, we're 2 games in,
Yeah.
and those types of numbers can be skewed by like
Listen,
1 or 2 really
it's
big
the
chances.
largest sample size one could possibly imagine.
Well, like for example, I'm sure that Jett's shot quality is probably through the roof because of 1 scoring chance.
Yeah.
Because the 1 chance where Michkov takes the shot, big rebound right in front, and Jett gets robbed. Rebounds tend to generate a ton of shot quality because they tend to go in a lot. And goalies have trouble, recovering from an initial shot, especially if the rebound is right in close. So my guess is that it's largely driven by that 1 play for Jett. For Michkov, I mean, he's had a lot of in-close chances. He's going to break the door down at some point.
Kurt's here.
It's just inevitable.
You can't argue with science. He's one of the best players on the team.
Ah, okay. Gotcha,
Listen,
Kurt.
again, I know he's only played, what does he have, 14 minutes, or like 14 and a half minutes total. He's played 1 game, but he is 3rd among the Flyers forwards in expected goals for percentage. I looked that up just for you,
Yep.
Charlie. And again, he's only played the 1 game, but I think that speaks to, yes, he's had a couple of chances and that kind of blows up the numbers. But in terms of those details, yeah, he did blow 1 coverage. However, they're not giving up a ton when he's on the ice outside of that either. And that's what is going to, I think, be Tortorella's argument when we get to the last 2 games of the month and we're deciding whether or not to send him back. Like, the team is actually better when this kid's on the ice. How can you take him away from me? Well, if he keeps this up, he might be staying. It's exciting. I hope he stays. I hope he stays all year, honestly.
I'm really interested to see how this plays out, only because it seems clear that like you have 2 wings of the triumvirate over here and 1 over here, and this one's the really loud one. And so I wonder like how that's going to play out, like who's going to win this argument, because I would imagine that unless Jett does start to light the world on fire, these 2 probably aren't going to change their opinion, and he's not going to change his opinion, because has John Tortorella ever changed an opinion about anything? Probably not.
We might be seeing Paling bench.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So I'm interested to see how it plays out, because I think it's just going to like give us a little bit of insight into how the organization is being run at the moment.
I would agree.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I mean, for us, are they going to send him back or not? This is going to be. It's going to be a fun like final
The
week.
content.
Final week of October is
Yes.
going to be. I mean, we're going to do like 4 shows on that. Just that probably. I want to talk about the goaltending position now. So, Sam Ersson in the opener looked real good, continuing a strong preseason effort, bouncing back from what was an understandable tough second half for him last year when he was basically the only NHL quality goalie on the roster, and they used him as such. Ivan Fedotov gets in, stops 26 of 31. That's an .839 save percentage. Not exactly great, but when you look at it a little closer, like Mackenzie Weegar's goal absolutely should have been stopped. Also, it's a 4-on-3 penalty kill. Like, there is a ton of room out there for a really good player to pick a spot, and he did. Kadri's first goal was 5-on-3. I don't know. You're supposed to score 5-on-3. That's why we like throw things at the television when the Flyers make it look more difficult when they have 2 more guys out there. Calgary apparently doesn't have that problem.
Mm.
I thought it was definitely a roller coaster. There was some stuff that Fedotov could have done better. I thought they kind of got the opposite of basically what they needed out of him. Like, the team started out the game pretty well, and he was shaky.
Yeah.
And then as they sagged, he came back, and it was like, well, it's too late.
Yeah.
But he did make some pretty big saves to keep them in it. Like, there was times where there was, like, could have been a shift because of something, and it was just, well, we're out of gas. There's no shift coming. But what did I know we talked a little bit about this on post-game, Chuck, but what did you make of Fedotov?
I just think that we probably need to come to the realization that he's never going to look good.
No.
Like that, we just need to accept that. Like there was a play, I think it was in the first period, where he makes a big save. It was a legitimately good save of kind of an isolated guy down low, makes the save, and then he falls over backwards.
Yes.
That was the first save of the game. It was the first shot.
Insane at all times. I don't know what he's doing.
Shooter alone in the slot, gets centered to him. He rips one right on net, and Fedotov makes the save. Great, nice first test.
Yeah.
Falls on his ass. And I was like, well, this is just what it's gonna be, I guess.
I know he's large and like the limbs and stuff, but like you're 28 years old. I feel like you figured out how to use your body, and he just like at all times looks panicked and like he's just like flinging himself in whatever direction he thinks he's supposed to be in, and sometimes he's right,
it's wrong,
and sometimes it's wrong. Yeah, it just I don't know if I can live with this, Charlie. It's harrowing.
It's clearly driving Kelly the most insane. Kelly's the one who it runs counter to all of her views of what a goalie should look like. And look, if he continues to play the way he played in game 2, where he gives up one legitimately weak goal, ends up giving up 5 goals on 31 shots, like that's not going to be good.
Not good.
It's just not. It's not going to be good enough. But I do think that as the game went on, he showed if it's going to work out, what it's going to look like if it works out. Where, yeah, it's never necessarily going to look pretty, but he made a lot of saves in the second half of that game that were legitimately tough saves. And, I mean, I tweeted out during the game that, look, a lot of those saves struck me as less of, oh, my God, his technique is so good or he's so athletic, and more just like, man, he's so big.
Yeah, right.
They had nothing to shoot at. But here's the thing. He is really big. That is an inherent advantage that he will always have. It's not a skill set that's going to disappear anytime soon. So, like, there's a world where he doesn't have to be a great technical goalie. He doesn't have to have the greatest athleticism or skating ability. He just needs to not be terrible at those things and continue to be really large. And unless someone's invented a shrink ray, I don't think he's going to get smaller anytime soon.
Please continue to be large.
And if they do invent the shrink ray, we can always send him some Blue Chew. All right.
Oh my God.
That's for you, Higgs. Before I want to get back to the goalie conversation, but I want to do a side note here because I mentioned the first, like those 2 goals that he gives up. He gives up a 4-on-3 and a 5-on-3. Can we talk about the penalties for just a second here? 37 penalty minutes through 2 games. Now, inflated, but even if you take out Forster's fight and misconduct, they've taken 11 minor or bench penalties. Friday, we're looking at a tripping, a hooking, a too many men, a cross-checking, and a roughing. Saturday, slashing, tripping, interference, tripping, and there's a too many men in there, or the instigator in there as well. Like 7 of the 11 are stick penalties, and then there's a too many men in there. There's one roughing call, This isn't a case of us like bullying teams or being too aggressive or too tough. This is sloppiness. Do we think this is just like, well, it's early in the season, they'll get it figured out, or are the penalties like this is going to be a problem for them?
I don't think it's fair to worry yet. Could it be a problem? Sure, it could be a problem. Anything could be a problem. But I'm very hesitant to say after 2 games that the Flyers have a penalty problem. They're sloppy, but they've been sloppy in every aspect of the game. They've been sloppy, even though they got that one shorthanded goal. They've been sloppy on the penalty kill. They've given up a lot of chances. They've been sloppy on the power play in the sense of they get real close to scoring and then they blow the final maneuver that's required to score a goal. They've been sloppy at 5-on-5 in terms of their defensive coverage sometimes. They've just been sloppy. It's been 2 games, and they've been sloppy, and the penalties, I think, are just a byproduct of that. I don't think they are, like, the cause of the sloppiness. I think it's just they're sloppy, and sloppy teams take penalties because they're a little bit out of sync. They're a little bit out of place, and therefore they have to take an obstruction penalty to break up a play because they're not quite where they're supposed to be or they didn't quite make the read fast enough. Look, if this is a problem on November 14th, then, yeah, I'll be with you that, yeah, the penalties are a legitimate issue that needs to be addressed beyond just saying in a meeting, guys, stop taking so many goddamn stupid penalties. Right now, I think that's really all you need to do. Be like, guys, stop taking so many penalties. That's the point of emphasis today. Don't do that. You're playing against Connor freaking McDavid on Tuesday. If you put him on the power play 6 times, we're going to lose 5-2. So hopefully playing against the Oilers will give them the jolt of, yeah, you know what? I'd rather give up that scoring chance than let Connor McDavid just light us up on the power play.
Makes sense. All right, I want to get back to the goaltender conversation because I jokingly asked you on post game on Saturday, Charlie, like, Fedotov, he's getting a longer leash than one game, right? And clearly that's going to be the case.
Yes.
But I do want to know, do we know if Kolosov is going to leave at the end of October unless some certain unknown set of criteria or demands or whatever are met? I know like Elliot commented on it. We've heard reports, but do we like know that oh yeah, it's literally 1 month on Kolosov and then he might be getting loaned back?
No, if I knew that, I would have reported it,
Okay.
and I haven't. The only hint we've heard about there being a 1 month deadline is from Elliot Friedman. That said, my understanding is this is a very fluid situation. Like, there is a chance that Alexei Kolosov ends up not hating Allentown. And then maybe he's like, yeah, I don't necessarily even want to go back. I don't mind this. I like the coaching staff. It's a perfectly nice city. I don't need to go back to Belarus. Now, if at the end of the month, though, there's still no clear path to an NHL, not job, but just NHL games, and he still hates it there, then yeah, maybe they're going to have conversations. But I don't think we're dealing with a situation where it's like on October 31st, Alexei Kolosov's agent is going to call up Danny Briere and say, send him home right effing now. Like, I don't think it's that. I just think that the door is open after a few weeks for that conversation to get re-engaged. And maybe he goes back. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe Fedotov, if he continues to not look that great, maybe they carry 3 goalies for a little bit. Some of this depends on the Luchanko situation, because right now, when Nick Seeler ultimately comes back from his issue, they have a full 23-man roster. They can't have 3 goalies. If they send Luchanko back, suddenly they have a roster spot available. Then maybe the situation changes. So, Bill, to answer your question, like, there are just way too many moving parts here in terms of how Kolosov feels, how the Flyers feel, how Fedotov plays, how Luchanko plays, who gets hurt, who doesn't, if Ersson's healthy. There's so many variables that it's honestly not even. And again, I hate this story. It drives me nuts. I don't want to have to talk about it, but like, I get why people want to talk about it. I just think there's too many balls in the air for us to even predict what's going to happen.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about the situation. I just don't know what it is. And that's why I ask you, so you can state the facts, and then people can once we have the facts stated, we can figure out what the rest is. And there is no rest right now. It's 2 games into the season. Kolosov in the Phantoms opener, it was a shootout win. He stopped 22 of 25 through overtime, stopped 2 of 3 in the shootout. It's not as if he's like a surefire NHL goalie either. That's fine. Like, those are fine single game numbers. Like, he's probably pretty good. We just don't know what he is either. This is an evolving thing, as Charlie said. Yeah. So that's the Kolosov-Fedotov conversation for the day. We've sufficiently angered Charlie, and we can move on. Sean Couturier. Who should he play with?
Great question. I don't know. I don't think it's Bobby Brink and Scott Lawton, though. That doesn't seem good.
I don't know. I gather that there is, and this kind of surprised me. Maybe it shouldn't, because I just shouldn't put anything past Flyers Twitter. I guess I'm surprised at the degree of consternation surrounding Sean Couturier after 2 games. Like, the amount of people that are just like livid at this guy. I don't know if it's because there's a lot. My personal pet theory is that there's a lot of people on Twitter that are becoming new voices who are on the younger side, and they therefore don't have the same like personal like affinity and loyalty to Couturier because they weren't around when he was at his best. So therefore, like, they're ready to just throw him off the building at the soonest possible time because they just don't think he's very good, because they don't have that same like, man, remember when he was great? Maybe they don't remember. But I guess I'm surprised at how big of a topic of conversation Couturier has been. I thought in Game 1 he wasn't very good. I thought in Game 2 he was quite good. I don't think he should be this. I don't think people should be this concerned about him yet. I guess that's where I come from.
Yeah, I definitely think the idea of like, oh, well, it's over. Like, I thought he was pretty good on Saturday as well.
He was, yeah.
You pointed out, I didn't even see it in real time, but you pointed out that awesome Brink saucer pass that gets over to Farabee. Might not get there if not for the excellent stick lift in the middle by Sean Couturier. That was something. And I just thought he had jump. I thought he was getting in on the forecheck through a few hits. I thought he looked much, much better on Saturday than he did Friday. And it's just going to be a process figuring, like, I don't think you can evaluate him at all after two. Like, he's been in the league 10 years. I'm going to look at 2 games and make a sweeping generalization about what he is. That said, I did find myself on Puckpedia trying to calculate what a buyout would be this summer. We have to wait at least one more year. It ain't going to be this summer. I'll tell you that.
I think some of this is just that, like, right now, I don't think it's clear what the ideal line combinations are.
That's where I am right now.
So the problem is that people are swapping things around in their head, and Frost and Luchanko are like the fun centers, so naturally they need to be the best ones. And no one can figure out what to do with Sean Couturier. But, like, the fact of the matter is, it's incredibly likely that just like last year, we see a very good Sean Couturier again that does just fine as a 1C.
I also think that a lot of this, too, is it's in a state of flux because we don't know what the status of Luchanko is long term.
Yeah.
We don't know if Jett Luchanko is going to stick with this team past 9 games. We don't even know if he's going to make it to 9 games. Maybe they send him back after 4 or 5. Who knows? I think everything is on the table there. But as long as the Luchanko situation is unknown, people are going to look at it as where does Couturier fit, because in their heads, they are thinking Luchanko is going to be here all year. If Luchanko is here all year, and that's on the table too, I don't think that has been ruled out. If he's here all year, yeah, you have to wonder, like, where does Couturier fit? Is Couturier just a 3C? And then I guess if you want, you can get angry online about the fact they're paying a 3C nearly $8 million. But if Couturier's playing the way he played on Saturday, I don't give a crap if he's like nominally the 3C. If he's driving play and helping to produce goals, who cares? You want 3 good centers.
People get so hung up on the line numbers. It drives me insane because I do feel like over the last like decade, maybe, it seems less cut and dry than it was like when we were kids watching hockey.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be like scoring line, not that good. Not a great line, bunch of goons that beat everybody up. Like that, it was like a very definitive delineation between the lines. And I feel like now it's not like that so much.
I just like, I think the reason I'm having trouble figuring out where exactly he fits is we talked about this with Luchanko in comparison to when Coots was a rookie. And it was like, yeah, Coots spent his whole rookie year with Max Talbot and like Harry Z. Right. Like, if that existed now, if that exists, and like Luchanko, like, yeah, he's going to play with Farabee and Brink. Like, that's a scoring line. But like, if that sort of bottom 6 existed now for the Flyers, I would go, oh yeah, Couturier fits right in there. But now I'm like not exactly sure what he's capable of. And I don't know if we like, okay, let's put him with Forster and have a shutdown line. And then it's like, well, now 2 of your 3 forwards are kind of slow. Can we do that when like all we're doing is preaching pace?
Right.
Like, I just am having a little trouble seeing where he fits. But again, we've seen 125 minutes of hockey. So we have a lot to just evaluate still.
I guess where I come from is like, this to me is a question that is better. It's better asked once we know if Luchanko is staying or not. Because I feel like the impetus behind this question, not from you, but just from people in general, is operating under the assumption that Luchanko is staying all year. And we don't know one way or the other whether that is going to happen.
I will say, however, that if I had to bet, I would bet John Tortorella gets whatever he wants because he's going to make the argument, this is why I'm here. Yeah. I'm here to make these evaluations. But maybe Danny and Jonesy see it a different way. Maybe they get swayed. We have no idea. The one thing I do know is maybe some Flyers fans just need to choose to chill. Perhaps choose to chill. Listen, I get it. This team drives us absolutely nuts, and we have the shiny new thing. You could call Jett Luchanko a silver bullet. He's shiny. He's fast, perhaps. You know, that's all I'm saying. Well, when we're this fired up, we need to choose to chill. And there's no better way to chill than with an ice cold Coors Light. So whether you're freaking out about the 18-year-old staying here or not, whether you're freaking out about the 33-year-old center who doesn't look like himself, the goalie situation, you need to find the Blue Mountains in your fridge and enjoy a beer as cold as the Rockies. Because when everything surrounding your favorite hockey team is on fire, or it isn't, and you want to still pretend it is, sometimes you just got to chill. Make the most out of times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered or find a store near you at CoorsLight.com/PHLY Hockey. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And, you have a little fun. You're partying. You're having your Coors Light. You're choosing chill. You also need to be responsible. One of the most responsible things you can do, it's go to Rite Aid and get your flu shot, damn it. Don't miss the big game. Don't miss Halloween, Thanksgiving, all of the fun that we're going to be having this fall. Get a flu shot at Rite Aid. And while you're at the pharmacy, stock up on all of your fall essentials as well as all the other vaccines you may or may not need. The CDC recommends getting a flu shot every year. A person's immune protection from vaccination declines over time. Help protect yourself against the flu by getting your annual flu shot at Rite Aid. And according to the CDC, flu vaccinations may reduce a child's risk of severe life-threatening influenza by 75%. Help protect your family and the people around you by getting flu shots at Rite Aid today. And while at the pharmacy, stock up on cough, cold, flu, and allergy essentials. Rite Aid has what you need to get you through the season. Just walk into your local Rite Aid or schedule at riteaid.com. State, age, and health restrictions apply. Ask your Rite Aid pharmacist for details. All right, where do we want to go from here? I want to talk about Jamie Drysdale. Again, it's not as if we've seen enough to make any sweeping generalizations, I don't think, but just observations. I talked about this with Kelly after the Calgary game, Charlie. When he took that hit last year, I think against Pittsburgh, where he injured his shoulder, we kind of viewed it as an unfortunate play at the time. Like, he's reaching right as a defender is converging. Okay, boom, he gets hit. So be it. It's hockey. It's a collision. They happen. And now through 2 games, we have seen him take multiple shots, whether it's teams going, well, why wouldn't we take a run at him? He's their small, puck-moving defenseman. Like, teams dumped in on Chemo Tiemann inside so that they could hit him because in a 7-game series, like, if his shoulder hurts or he's a little slow, that's an advantage. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, though, he's taking some shots. Is there like a thought? We saw, Tyson Forster drop the gloves to protect him. We saw Joel Farabee try to do it, and I liked Farabee kind of punking Coleman after the game, calling him out. That was cool. Nice. But like, other than physically protecting him after the fact, is there anything like Drysdale can do, you think, to like just put himself in safer situations?
Yes, and that was actually exactly what John Tortorella said today when I asked him about it, because I asked him regarding Drysdale. We obviously talked to Tortorella a little bit about it after the game on Saturday, mostly in the sense of, I'm sure you loved, and this was us saying to Torts about, Forrester and Farabee standing up for him, and he's like, this room, it stinks we lost Forrester for 17 minutes, but I love the camaraderie. I love they stand up for each other. I just let them do that. But today I asked Tortorella about, are you worried that teams are going to take runs at Jamie the way that it seemed like Calgary made a point to do? And he said, look, I'm going to take it in a different direction. Drysdale needs to do a better job protecting himself. He needs to make better decisions. He needs to protect himself better and not put himself, not give teams the opportunity to drill him the way they did on Saturday. And he said, look, this is something that bothers me a lot. And by me, I mean Tortorella. I'm quoting him, that players in today's game make plays operating on the assumption that they're not going to get hit. And Tortorella thinks that's a big problem, that players need to assume that when they make flashy plays in the middle of the ice, when they're not protected, that they're going to get hit. They need to play with that assumption. And Drysdale, I think he feels like maybe doesn't play with that assumption enough. And Tortorella's opinion is that unless he starts assuming that teams are going to try to hit him, he's going to keep getting hit, and very likely he might keep getting hurt. So Tortorella, Bill, very much is on board with your theory that Drysdale needs to protect himself better. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, I want him to eventually evolve to being like the playmaker we hope he can be. When we did the best worst case scenario show with JP a couple of days ago, I said, like rookie year Shane Gostisbehere is the best possible scenario for this guy. And while I want to see that sort of skill, that sort of flashy offense, right now the thing he needs is to play NHL hockey and develop in the NHL. He can't do that if he's getting run over 3 times a game. He's going to get like the Rasmus Ristolainen and Darian Hatcher will eventually get hurt if they get hit that much. He is much smaller. He can put on all the weight he wants. Like at a certain point, your frame is your frame. You got to get hit less if you're going to stay healthy. And that's just what it's going to come down to. I need to see him play before I see him do anything like great consistently. He needs reps. He's not going to get them if he keeps getting knocked the F out.
I mean, he's a really good skater, right? So, like, it would be cool if he could learn how to be a bit more evasive. Because, like you said, he's not going to be large ever. He's just not going to be. So just, get out of the way if you can. But that requires him anticipating a hit, which apparently John Tortorella doesn't think he does, and it doesn't seem like he does because he gets rocked constantly.
I think it's less about anticipating hits. Like, I don't think he's out there oblivious to what's going on. I think it's more that he takes routes and he makes maneuvers with the puck that are operating under the assumption that they're not going to hit me. And that honestly might in part be due to the fact that he just hasn't played that many NHL games. He still maybe has the habits of junior hockey when you wouldn't get blown up in the middle of the ice if you did something like that. Or, playing in World Juniors or whatever, because that's the most recent, like, extended period of hockey playing that he's had. I mean, he's played some NHL games. I'm not saying he hasn't played any. But maybe there's still a part of him that thinks he's still playing in juniors and thinks he can still get away with the things in juniors that you can do without getting blown the F up. And in the NHL, there's a much higher chance you're going to get blown the F up.
All right, we just got a comment asking about the suite takeover, so that's something I want to talk about real quick here. You can join Charlie, me, and the PHLY Flyers diehards, Kelly as well, for the return of Cutter Gauthier. I love return. To the Wells Fargo Center as the Flyers take on the Anaheim Ducks. This is going to be January 11th, the home game against the Ducks, January 11th, 2025. Takeover includes game ticket in a suite at the Wells Fargo Center, food and drinks all night, immaculate vibes with the PHLY Flyers crew, and PHLY Flyer diehards. You need to log in and use your discount code so you pay a little bit less than everyone else, because that's what we do here for our diehards. It is going to be a great time. We are going to boo the hell out of Willie Goat there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Please join us at the Suite Takeover. Check out allphly.com and hit that events calendar for all the details.
How good would it be if the Flyers do like a welcome back? Welcome back, William.
Oh man, like
the Sarah McLachlan song and like clips of him getting drafted.
I can absolutely see like another team doing that.
Yeah.
Like Vegas would do that.
Maybe they can have Gritty hold up a sign or
but
something.
welcome back.
Yeah.
We miss you. Something very sarcastic.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they'll ever say we miss you.
No, I can't imagine. No, I can.
Thanks for everything, William.
Yeah, thanks for everything would be very funny.
Yeah.
Like thanks for the memories could be funny. That could be funny.
Yes. That would be great.
So many of them.
We'll always have that World Juniors right before he got traded.
Yeah, right. 3 days before, when every Flyers fan was ready to die for him.
Honestly, he scored way too many easy perimeter goals in that one. All he was doing was just kind of passing the puck to the middle. I think he's a bust, honestly. No
Many
goals
people
yet.
are saying
what's he
this.
doing?
Yeah.
He's like 22 years old. And he's not. Anyway, one more guy I want to talk about before we get out of here is Owen Tippett. Owen Tippett, 12 shot attempts, 5 misses, 3 blocked, 4 on net. 4 out of 12 have hit the net.
He's doing it again.
Carter
Here we go
Jr.
again.
Same thing he did the start of last season.
Yeah.
Can't hit the net.
I will say he is second among forwards in expected goals percentage. It seems like they're on offense when he's out there. And, of course, like when he's out there, there's going to be shot attempts because it's Owen Tippett. The one thing, it's not even the misses, which they're annoying. My man still needs to get his ass closer to the net.
Yeah.
Too much perimeter play still from Owen Tippett. He's too fast and too big and too skilled to stay out there.
Yeah.
He needs to get in between the hash marks more often.
Thrive the net. But
I would agree. I would agree. And that's been one of my critiques of him. I wrote an article on him in the offseason talking about that, look, he's big and he has the theoretical ability to be a power forward. I'm not saying don't shoot from not distance, but I want him shooting. Like, I don't want him to stop shooting. I don't want him to take that element out of his game because he has the ability to create shots for himself and he has a legitimately good wrist shot. So I don't want him to stop shooting, but I would like him to do, maybe 1 or 2 power moves to the net a game, give it a shot, see what happens. And maybe if you don't even get a shot off, maybe you get the puck in that area and then someone else cleans up the trash and you get a goal scored by not you, but by someone else. I'd like to see that a little bit more from Tippett. I'd like to see him bring a little bit more of a power element to his game. But the one good thing about this is that we've seen this before and we've seen that he can get himself out of it.
Yeah.
Because the start of last season, he was missing the net like crazy. I think it was even worse than this through like 5 or 6 games. And by the end of the year, he probably was kind of in the middle in terms of NHL forwards when you're talking about, missed shots versus total shots taken. If you're talking about like percentage accuracy, things like that. He wasn't a high-end accuracy shooter. I don't think he's ever going to be because he's trying to pick corners. He's a sniper. That's what he does. But you don't want him missing, 60-something% of his shot attempts. That's bad. And I think we saw last year that even when he goes through stretches where he is maybe missing the net more than he should, he can pull himself out of it. I think this is just a byproduct of what we talked about earlier. Guys are just a tick off. It just seems like everyone is a tick off. And the way you see that Owen Tippett is a little bit off is that he's missing the net too much. That's the way he shows that he's a little bit off.
All right, I want to thank all of our PHLY diehards. Like I said, diehards, check out the events calendar. You get a discount on the suite tickets for that January 11th game. But we very much appreciate what you do here for us. We couldn't do what we do without our subscribers. And if you're not one, go to allphly.com, sign up to be a diehard.
Why wouldn't you be a diehard?
Yeah, before we get to the super chats, Charlie, just talking about the Tippett conversation and maybe that element he can add to his game. That was an overarching idea. And it's 2 games in, they're not going to be able to implement something brand new. Like, oh, yes, and now they're good at this now. But the idea was, listen, we were great on the rush last year. Absolutely. That was our thing. But we need a half-court offense. We need to get in on the cycle. We need to be able to not just be a one-and-done team. 2, 3 opportunities, and then maybe you're going to be able to score. Yeah. How do you think they've done at that, through 125 minutes?
Well, thus far, not that great, but I do think it remains an emphasis. Today at practice, they did a lot of work on those sorts of things. They had a couple reps, practice situations where it was battles in the corners and then trying to dig the puck out of the corner, get it back up to the point, have somebody in front looking to do tips. Travis Konechny had a couple goals he scored today in practice off of deflections. It's very clearly an emphasis, and it's going to remain an emphasis. I think so far this year, no, there hasn't been enough. They need to do a better job, just like they needed to do a better job last year. But what I'll say is that I don't get the sense that the coaches and the players are just throwing up their hands and saying, well, we just stink at it. Sorry, I guess we're going to go back to scoring on the rush all the time, and that's it. They are very clearly working at it, both on the ice and probably behind closed doors too. I think this may be a season-long thing where they just dig away at it, and hopefully over time they get better.
Hey, power plays at 25%, so that's fixed. I'm sure they can fix this too. All right, let's hit those super chats. Let's go to Spiral Out. He says, great late night shows all weekend. Huge appreciation to everyone who joined us. Friday was a marathon for Kelly and I and the people who hung with us. Thank you so much. Thanks to Kelly for helping us through that.
I'm still not fully recovered.
Very much appreciate it. Yeah. Charlie out there doing the Lord's work in Canada to start the season. Just great all around, and thanks to our audience because our bosses are happy. And when our bosses are happy, I'm not worried about eating dog food. So very much appreciate it. All right. And Stuart Miller says, is Koskinen a good comp for Fedotov? I have no idea.
Me neither.
I don't know nearly enough about Koskinen to give you an explanation on that front.
A good comp for Fedotov is just your gangliest friend.
Dominic Hasek if he wasn't good.
Your gangliest, oddest looking friend. What would he look like in goalie pads? It's going to be, I think he needs a little bit of time just to sort of, we've heard so much about the difference in just style of play between the KHL and the NHL. There's so much more traffic. There's so much more of an emphasis of shot volume in the NHL. It's something he's going to have to get used to. And we'll see what the leash is, what the Kolosov situation is, but it's so fluid. Well, as we talked about earlier, it's really hard to know right now. There's so many moving pieces to this roster as a whole, as Charlie laid out. We're all just kind of waiting to see how it'll play out. And like, if he's good, none of it will really matter. And if he's not, that's something the front office is going to have to figure out. All right, are we good, guys? I think that's all we have. All right, and that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Make sure you're following us here on the YouTube page. Set that reminder bell so you never miss a live show. We'll be going live tomorrow at 9:30 with pregame, and we'll have postgame as soon as the game goes final. Same for Thursday, and home game opener on Saturday, so join us for that as well. Yeah, that's the schedule. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers, and follow the podcast wherever you get those. Just search PHLY Flyers. My name is Bill Matz. For Kelly Hinkle, for Charlie O'Connor, let's go Flyers.
We all silly like the mayor.